My boyfriend came on my face without asking. Just a warning, this post is a little long and there is a good amount of sexual content. I went over to my boyfriend's house today. It's been a weird week and we hadn't seen each other for about a week. I got to his house around 11 a.m. and we hung out for a while. Shortly after I got to his place, he got quiet. I wasn't sure what had happened and he didn't want to talk about. He was sitting on the couch, so I went over to him and gave him a big hug. He hugged me back like he desperately needed that hug. So I offered for us to lay on his bed and decompress and snuggle for a bit. Not long after we laid down, he took my hand and moved it down and suggested I give him a blowjob. I was not opposed to doing it, so I did. And afterward, I was kind of like, haha, that was fun. Things went back to normal and he wasn't quiet anymore. We hung out for a while longer. We are both musicians, so we played music for a few hours together in his music room. Eventually, we stopped working on music and we went back to his room to hang out more. He left for a few minutes to do something in the kitchen or something, so I sat on his bed and went through some of my school stuff for the upcoming semesters. I was laying on my side, and when he came back into his room, he laid behind me and hugged me. It was sweet, but then he started kind of grinding up against me, which, again, I wasn't opposed of, and things started progressing a bit more. I gave him another blowjob, and then he said he had to leave to go to the store. The store closed at 8:30, and it was 6:30 around this time. After he finished, I asked if he could help me too really quick before the store. He said sure, and I asked him a second time if it was okay because I knew he had to go to the store. He said was fine with it. I ended up having to help myself, and he wanted to watch. While I was trying to get myself off, I felt him move on the bed, but I had my eyes closed so I could focus. All of the sudden, I felt him come all over my face, on my shirt, and in my hair, without any warning whatsoever. Also, it's not like it was an accident. He was above me on the bed, aiming for my face. And I didn't even finish. Usually if I am staying the night at his house, I don't mind if he comes on my face because I know I can get myself cleaned up. But even if I am staying at his house, he always warns me beforehand. I was completely taken aback by this and knew I wanted to talk about it after the fact. But I wanted to clean myself up a bit first. I went to the bathroom to wash the cum off of my face and out of my hair as much as I could without taking a shower. I was in the bathroom for maybe 10 minutes or so, trying to figure out if I am allowed to be upset about this. When I came out of the bathroom, he asked if I wanted to go to the store with him. Since I wasn't staying over his house tonight, I didn't have my makeup, a hairbrush, or anything to get myself cleaned up enough to go to the store with him. I felt gross and I looked pretty crazy, and a shower wasn't an option because we were pressed for time. I told him I didn't want to go in the store looking like this, so I said I might just go home instead and get cleaned up. He got upset because I didn't want to spend time with him after being intimate. I offered to ride in the car with him to the store, and I reiterated the fact that I just didn't want to go in the store looking the way that I did. By the way, I am not overly sensitive about the way that I look in public, but I literally had sticky hair still from his cum, and my makeup was smeared all over my face mixed with cum. Saying this caused a big issue, and he said he felt like I just came over for sexual activities and wanted to leave immediately after getting what I wanted. Huh? I have never in our entire relationship ever come over just for sexual activities, and I always make sure I lay with him for a while after. Aftercare is so important. The thing that gets me is that I didn't even initiate any of the sexual activities today. All I did was ask for him to help me too, which I feel like is pretty fucking fair considering I got him off 3 times already. And more often than not, I am left out to dry because once he comes, it's usually the end of the session. It's gotten a little better recently, but he rarely helps me orgasm during sex. Also, it wasn't even the fact that he came on my face that made me upset necessarily, but it was the without warning part and the knowing that I didn't have anything with me to clean up afterward and getting upset with me for not wanting to go in public looking like I just got cummed on. And for pretty much shaming me for wanting reciprocation after I had gotten him off multiple times. Am I crazy for feeling used and for feeling off about our argument after the fact? It almost feels like he has everything flipped. Like it feels like it was him wanting me to come over to give him his sex fix or whatever, and then coming all over me to mark his territory, but getting upset with me for wanting reciprocation and for not wanting to go to the store with him after he came all over me without warning. I, 26 male, bought my girlfriend, 25 female, a car. She said that was my third and final strike. I come from a wealthy family. I now work in the family business, so technically I'm not spending mommy and daddy's money anymore. Been with my girlfriend for a year and 5 months. She's the best thing in the world. Doesn't matter how bored, sad, lonely, upset, or even happy I feel. She always makes it better. Now, I don't like to show I have money because obviously that's not the best way to attract people who are actually interested in you and not your money. So, when I started dating my GF, I didn't spend a lot until I felt comfortable with her. That was 3 months in. I bought her a tablet that was somewhere between 6 and 700, I'm pretty sure. She seemed okay with it. I don't like to think I'm careless with how I spend, but I also know I'm probably not the most mindful when it comes to my spending either. At 7 months in the relationship, I decided to buy my girlfriend a bracelet that I saw while looking for a birthday gift for my little brother. It was $6,000. I know. Saying it out loud maybe doesn't sound like a good idea, but I've spent more on some truly ridiculous stuff. But for my budget, it really wasn't as bad as it sounds. She wouldn't accept it and told me to return it. I kept telling her it was fine, but she didn't want it. I told her to give it to her sister as a wedding present. She said no. Later, she told me that me buying her that was a red flag. Around 8 months in, I realized I loved her, and she told me she loved me right around the same time. I took her on a we are in love date. I thought since she didn't like the bracelet, I'd keep things simple this time. No dinners at expensive restaurants, no gifts, no elaborate plans. Just us eating food from a local place we both like sitting by the mountain, one of her favorite spots. Everything went great, and we left after a while. She told me in the car that though she had a good time, she expected something fancier. Noted. 4 days ago, she turned 25. I bought her a car. At this point, we've been together 1 year and 5 months, are in love. Talk about our future together, so I assumed it was okay to get her such a gift, but apparently not. She thanked me in the moment, but when we went back to her place, she told me that was my third and final strike. That she thought I wouldn't do something like that again, only this time even worse. She said she doesn't know what I can do to fix things. We aren't broken up, but aren't talking to each other either. I guess the tablet was the first strike? When I buy these gifts, I make it clear I don't expect anything back. So she doesn't feel like she has to keep up. I never liked receiving gifts. I told my parents to stop when I turned 10. She's important to me, and I guess I can be materialistic, but I like to buy nice stuff for people I care about. How do I fix things? Update? Reddit May 24th, 2020. 4 months later. Okay, so yeah, I asked her, could we just sit down and talk? She said she doesn't want expensive gifts for multiple reasons. She felt like she'd be indebted to me, felt like a gold digger, and felt like she could never do anything like that for me. She said it'd be okay if I occasionally brought her some chocolates or flowers. I apologized and told her that I enjoy making people happy, but I clearly wasn't accomplishing that by buying her stuff. I didn't consider the person receiving the gifts. I also expressed I didn't like a having strike system in place that I was unaware of. She said from now on she will just tell me when I do something that she has a problem with, and that it was unrealistic of her to expect only 3 issues through the course of an entire relationship. Someone commented that if after buying her those gifts did I hope if even a little she would be less likely to break up with me. The truth is yes, but that's in everything I do. If it's making her breakfast in bed, coming over and doing all her housework, or just rubbing her back or scratching her hair, I want to be the best partner possible. I hope that every single thing that I do makes her less likely to break up with me because I love her and I want to be with her forever. I also asked about the fancier date comment. She said that was her expectation. That she wasn't disappointed, but kind of saw it as an occasion where I could have splurged a tiny bit but didn't. But certainly didn't have to. She said we can find a medium because she knows what she considers a lot and what I consider a lot is different. That $6,000 for me and for her were very different. That a car for me and for her were very different. Speaking of, I now more than ever acknowledge the difference between my upbringing and those around me. Because of the pandemic, and as my family's wealth gets bigger, I realized how unaffected I was compared to everyone else. And still, I want to do what I've always done. I say to my girlfriend that I'm interested in buying something for myself. She says I can't spend 6 figures on something I wasn't thinking about an hour ago. And she's right, I don't need it, I want it. Being with someone from a different background has opened my eyes. I would have bought and already had it. She said I could do some good with my money. My family's going to begin giving to people affected by the pandemic. But it's really just to make us look good. My dad didn't just wake up and feel like helping people. She says do that if I want to spend. We gave her car to someone who lost their job, and it made her feel really good. I-17F need advice on how to tell my aunt, 30s F, that I cannot babysit her daughter any longer. Trigger warning: exploitation, verbal abuse, mentions of physical violence. Original post March 15th, 2015. This might get long and be semi-ranty, so skip to the bottom for TLDR. Anyways, this year I am a junior in high school. I was looking for a job that wouldn't be too stressful, that'd take up too much time. but still allow me to save up for a car. Currently, I have a full schedule and am taking an online college course. My aunt contacted me a few weeks into the school year, asking if I could babysit her 7-year-old daughter for varying hours after school. She said, depending on how many hours I worked, she would pay me from $50 to $100 a week. I thought that was fine. It was only after school for a few hours, ECT. My aunt lives in the same town as me, so I just rode the bus home with her daughter. For the first few weeks, it was fine. She paid consistently, she was nice, ECT. I do not really like the kid. I don't really connect with kids well, but I didn't think it would be too much of an issue since I'm not trying to raise it. However, this kid is honestly one of the worst behaved kids I've ever met. Around her mom, she acts like an angel. Around me, not so much. Some incidents include running away when I wouldn't let her eat a can of frosting, faking an asthma attack and pretending not to know where her inhaler was. So I called her mom and almost 911, and throwing meets breaking things such as glass when she gets angry. Then her mom increases the hours that I'm working, but not the pay. Currently, I work from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day and get paid $50 a week. I have tried explaining that I refuse to work 25 to 35 hours a week for $50. Whenever I say this, she gets really upset and even cried once about how she can't afford to pay me anymore. I feel really guilty, but I keep noticing that she buys her daughter expensive toys weekly. She's into magic, and she just bought her a magic kit that was over $150. Whenever I bring up these things, she says that no one will watch her kid. She will have to lose her job. ICAT-SDT. My grades are suffering because I am in primarily honors AP classes, and I don't have the time to do homework or even study for my SATs acts because my aunt does not let me do homework while I'm with her daughter. She says I can't focus on her daughter and the work at the same time. So I get home, do my work until 1 a.m. usually, and then wake up at 6. My junior year is incredibly important. She has even started asking for me to work on weekends, which I can't even spend time with friends because I am catching up on a week's worth of work. Next, every time I ask for a day off, she loses it. I have been planning a trip to Europe with my school for about a year now. I told her about it when I first started working for her, and it's happening in a few weeks. Last week she told me I couldn't go because she needed someone to babysit her daughter. She explicitly told me I couldn't go. She didn't ask if I would skip it, she said I couldn't. I explained it was fully paid for and non-refundable, and an experience I do not want to miss out on. And she started crying and screaming at how inconsiderate I am, how she's going to have to take a week off of work, lose her job, ECT. I'm honestly baffled at this, considering I told her in September. Her 21-year-old son also lives at home and does not have a job or go to school. I am wondering why he can't watch her for a week, or really at all. When I asked why her son couldn't watch her, she said he was getting a job. This was in January. He still does not have a job. Now on to the real problem. She has assumed, without consulting me, that I will be working for her from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day during summer, and then continue the schedule I have now on to my senior year. I have not even managed to save up enough for a decent car because she doesn't pay well, and I am definitely not going to continue this. I have resigned to do it until my junior year ends, but that's it. This summer I am doing a range of programs for pre-college and try-a-major type programs. I will be busy, and my senior year I am taking an online high school class as well as 2 college classes outside of school. I will simply not have the time nor energy to deal with this woman and her child any longer. My question is this: how can I get out of this? I want to tell her way ahead of time so that she doesn't have more leverage to guilt trip me about when the time comes for me to stop working for her. I have brought this up once before, and she yelled at me and claimed I was trying to get her to lose her job because she will have no one to watch her daughter. I don't know how to get out of this without being guilt tripped. It is not my responsibility to care for her daughter for the year when I took this as a casual after-school job. Please give me advice on how to approach this and how to put my foot down. I have never been good at confrontation, but I cannot handle this for another year. Thank you. Edit. I have spoken to my mother about this, and she told me to honor my commitment I made. My father is not in the picture, so I can't speak to him. Thank you very much for all the advice I have been given. It really means a lot. I have tried speaking to friends about this, but they all have jobs working at McDonald's and things like that, so they have set schedules, pay, ECT. I live in a very small town, and there's not a daycare or things of the sort. I forgot to mention that she also drives me home afterwards, 5 to 10 minute drive. since I don't have a car and claims the gas money to drive me home is part of the reason she can't pay me more. Edit 2. I also forgot to mention I have a therapist, and I have spoken with her about this. She does believe I am also being used by my aunt. She says for this many hours and a babysitter of my caliber should not be paid this little. This statement kind of got the gears turning and made me realize that I can't keep doing this for the next year and a half. Update May 31st, 2015, 2.5 months later. First, thank everyone who responded. I was very surprised to see the outpouring of people who could relate. Besiat had helpful advice. I'm sorry I didn't respond to everyone, but I'm very thankful. I want to say that I kind of fudged the part about her being my aunt. She's my mom's distant cousin that happens to live in our town. I was looking for a job and my mom saw on Facebook she asked for someone to babysit her kid. So she's not technically close family even. I just didn't want the post to be specific because I don't know if who was involved goes on Reddit, but I don't care anymore. So what happened was I talked to my not really aunt the day before I had to leave to go on my school trip to Europe. I kind of planned this in a way that she couldn't try to talk me back into while I was gone, since I had no access to texting. The day before I talked to my aunt, I told my mom everything and how my schoolwork was being affected, and that it wasn't helping out family anymore. It was being taken advantage of, and all of the points that were brought up by other Redditors. She finally agreed that it was wrong of me to be doing, and that her son should watch the kid or someone else who actually could control the kid better. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last post, but the kid I babysit has increasingly become badly behaved. One day I dyed my hair brown, and she said, "Why would you do that? You look like a fucking monster," as an example. So, onto the drama. When my not really aunt dropped me off at my house, I stayed in the car so I could talk to her, and I said that I would be unable to continue watching kid when I returned from school. She immediately tried to say that that wasn't possible. She doesn't have anyone else act. I touched on a few points, such as, my grades are failing, and I am taking a college class and finals are coming up. I need to study. I cannot control her kid well enough anymore. The kid wasn't in the car during this conversation. Her brother was watching her at the time. I am not being paid enough. She tried to convince me at this point she would pay me more soon. I told her I didn't want more money. I just didn't want to babysit anymore. I told her to look for other babysitters. I told her to go to care.com. I always see the commercials. I figured I might as well try something. At the end of it all, she basically told me that if I wasn't there to babysit the Monday I got back, then she would be extremely disappointed and called me selfish, and said that I didn't care for family. At this point, I was kind of annoyed and I just got out of the car and went inside. I asked my mom to go talk to her because I kind of figured she wouldn't take me seriously. My mom lied to her and said that I could no longer work, like it was a punishment, because my grades were failing. She got pretty irritated and made a remark about how I wasn't adult enough to handle working and schoolwork at the same time, and that made my mom pretty mad, and they got in a fight about it. I'm glad that my mom stood up for me, though. Anyways, after that, things seemed okay. I got back and didn't go to babysit. There was a few texts like, maybe next year you could help again. And I was just thinking, nope. I waited a while to post this in case something else happened, but the most that's happened is her asking if I could watch her kid for a day or something like that. I never respond because I don't want to incite anything. All in all, I'm done my college classes, I'm going to be a senior soon, and maybe next year I can find a real job that I actually enjoy and get paid for.